All right. Some housekeeping stuff we can talk about real quick before we jump into the monthly report. Is everything about STS gone? Essentially, yeah. STS is functionally no more. It will live on in your wallet like a a little nostalgic token reminder that you were here before the migration. Other than that, STS is by all intents and purposes no longer in existence. So RIP Stasis Network, STS token, STS Plus. If you guys are holding STS Plus, there's really no more real reasons to be holding it. So redeem it, pair it with your block, stick it in the farm. It's going to serve you well, especially this first. I think rewards are going to be high relative to previous platform, regardless. But the first like 2 weeks are going to be some sweet rewards. And for those who are farming, the farm deposit is 0 for the first 2 weeks while we let the old stasis farmers move over and migrate to the new farm. Something to keep in mind. Yes, RIP baby stasis. It is it was a good phase for us, but we are moving on to something much brighter and much bigger. We can talk about that in a little bit, about what we got going on the client side. What else? Dynamic strategies. Obviously, dynamic strategies moved with us because it's one of our favorite features that we created for this project. Kirby, has this project got rebranded? Yes, we very publicly just did a migration and rebrand over the past month, completed yesterday. So feel free to, if someone wants to send over the Medium article link about the unification of the brand, that'd be nice. Dynamic strategies within the DApp, they still exist. They still work exactly how they're designed. One change you will see is on the dynamic strategies take profit. It is in wrapped ETH. So it's in the backing token. It is not in USDC. And that is intentional because we are bullish over the next 15, 16 months, right? And so I'm especially bullish on Ethereum in anticipation of the ETF to be approved. There's speculation that it might never be approved. I don't think that's true. I think there's going to be some hurdles that these institutions need to jump through, but eventually it will be approved. And so I think it's much healthier for people within the network to be able to take profit into ETH, because if ETH goes from its current price to 10,000, your take profit triples in value at that time. So that's a change in the dynamic strategies. We will look to change that back to USDC once we feel like the market's cooled off, and we might cycle for an extended period of time. But that won't be until late next year at the earliest. That's pretty much it for the update. There are a couple different things on the DApp that are a feature, not a bug, but I'm working on getting them changed. So the swapper right now, you can only swap from one of the 3 tokens to block, or block to one of the 3 tokens. So right now I'm working with the devs to re-expand those options back out to basically you can swap between any of the 4 tokens across all pairings. It shouldn't be too big of an issue, because if you can swap from block to USDC or Matic, it's routing through ETH to Matic, through ETH to USDC. So that pairing, that individual pairing is there. It's just a matter of setting up that as an independent function within the swapper and redeploying the swapper contract. So we're going to work on that. Rewards are off at the moment. So APYs don't look like anything yet, but they will tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to push out first rewards. The first rewards already are pending, including our first burn, which, if I looked at the contract properly last night, thanks to our staking deposits and our buys and sells and everything that collects taxes, we already burned 23,000 tokens. No big deal. Don't want to celebrate too loud. It's working. The mechanics are already working. NFTs. So I know everybody's super excited to get their NFTs back. Just a reminder, they will be identical to what you have. The artwork will be the same, attributes, clan. The only difference is the number will be condensed down 1 through 240 instead of random numbers between 1 and 700. They will still be backed by Block. They will still pay weekly passive income, and they will still be redeemable if you want to. But I'm telling you right now, the fact that we automated tokens flowing back into the NFT contract, NFTs are like one of the highest values long term in the protocol. So something to keep an eye on if you see one come up for sale on the marketplace. But we got to do all the relisting and setting up all that information. Our primary marketplace is going to be Alpha Shares. We are a partner with them. We know the team over there really well. Their marketplace also acts as like a super aggregator. So if one of the NFTs gets listed, say on OpenSea or NFT Trade, it will show on their marketplace anyway. So it's a good collection place for us to be and support our partners. FIP, waiting for the BlockCentral Viking collection. Yes. And then we'll pay out the God bonus NFTs, the God NFT bonus, and we will almost immediately trigger this week's weekly payout for the regular NFTs, and then we'll set the timer to go off essentially next Friday when that happens, and then the next timer will just be on that 7-day cadence. There will not be any new NFTs. So we have, I think, 50 in the protocol's possession. We will potentially put some of them up for sale, but it's unlikely. The other possibility, which is if you're not here before, Bert just said it, we do from time to time do hoard boxes. HOARD. Not whore or hoard or any other word that doesn't sound like that. We do hoard boxes, and those are boxes that are already stocked with tokens. So let's say, for example, the box is $100. When you buy the box, it's $100 purchase tax-free of tokens OTC. But within that box, there is potentially a bonus, or a USDC bonus, or even an NFT. So usually we do tiers of boxes, like $25, $100, $500, and then it's completely randomized. You kind of get to, and then last time we did hoard boxes, we had a mystery box that was $10, and that one was more degen, and we only made it $10 so people wouldn't lose a bunch of money. That one you could go from anywhere from losing 100% of your $10 or winning 100% and having $20. So that was a fun little mystery box game that we played with everybody with the last one. So we'll probably have versions of that sometime, probably in the next 2 months. Don't hold me to it. That's not hard alpha. That's soft alpha. I will be looking to potentially kicking back up the hoard boxes at some point once we get through this next process. Any other questions when it comes to anything not related to the monthly update? Any other questions anybody has about the migration? Anything to do with the protocol? Anything like that? Everybody just loves whores and hoard boxes. Michael, did you have any of your own curiosities?
No curiosities, just I love that the dashboard's faster, more responsive. I love that we have one liquidity pool, no more stable backed asset. I just, you know me. I love simple, and I always love when things are simplified.
I know you love simple. You were king of the short bus.
I was so simple back then and still am.
King of the short bus. He loves simple. Yeah, actually, that is one thing I will say about the developers. Um, the um, the DApp went through major upgrades on the back end. They streamlined a bunch of stuff. They cut out a bunch of old tech that was holding us back from a performance standpoint. And frankly, there's less features. So there's the opportunity for the fact that the DApp isn't reading the blockchain at so many points of focus. The information being displayed is not happening at the same level, and so there's a data flow improvement. There's just an overall performance improvement of the functions, and then like Carl said in the Gen chat before we jumped on, we do feel like the font and the branding strengthens the overall appearance of the organization. So we're happy with it across the board. Mikey, how are you addressing any potential concerns or uncertainties among users regarding STS Plus token sunsetting? What steps are being taken to maintain confidence in the process? I think STS Plus token design is incredibly simple. You can literally send it to yourself. I don't know of a simpler token design when it comes to redeeming it for a USDC. I don't think there's any concerns about it. I think with the fact that we're in a bull market, moving into a bull market, having a slowly appreciating stable backed asset presents more opportunity costs than presents when it comes to safety. And frankly, we did find that it was a bit confusing for people. So people either thought STS Plus was pegged to $1 and didn't appreciate. Some people thought it was pegged to $1 and got rewards, which it doesn't. There was a lot of confusion about the token itself, and so the fact that we're moving on from it, actually, I think it overall it improves how people feel. Can I send block to myself for redeem? You can test it. Something might happen. I know with stasis, if you sent stasis to yourself, it did sell it for Matic. So if you want to try 5 block, send it to yourself. I do believe that might be a contract function that will sell the block for its backing token, which is wrapped ETH. I don't know for sure. I haven't personally tested it, but you can give that a shot. Do you think the bull market will hold back until the halving? I think the halving is 2 weeks away?
It's scheduled for 420 right now.
Oh, man. The crypto degens couldn't have asked for a better outcome, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it'll be fine. It's generally there's a dip before halving. Historically, obviously now when we say historically, you take that with a giant grain of salt because all of our historical models when it came to crypto changed with the ETF. So, we can still rely a little bit on history for a ballpark estimate, but now even more loosely, we have to go, all right, we know what did happen. However, we're in a new paradigm. And with a new paradigm, you have to let go some of those expectations, with also still being fairly confident in that we're in a new cycle of positive sentiment. So if you were to look at, say, Bitcoin or Ethereum, we peaked around March 12th, and then we've proceeded to dip pretty significantly since March 12th. Depending on which asset you're looking at, anywhere from 10 to 30%. So that's a pretty healthy pre-halving pullback. It's not necessarily as deep as some of previous cycles, but again, we're not in those previous cycles now, especially with the ETFs. They did change the paradigm for us a bit. So I am more curious to see how the overall relationship between the having that cut in inflation when it comes to Bitcoin's rewards versus inflows and outflows of ETFs, and how all that plays into what the perceived value of the market is. So, me personally, I'm just waiting for an Ethereum ETF. That's what my main focus is. Other than that, we're focused on strategy, just making sure that we're earning revenue every day, every week, every month. So this is the rub down before the rub. Yeah. Thank you, Bert. Your analogy is greatly appreciated. Pendle did go parabolic. Pendle is settling down. So Pendle is something that we have been playing in and reaping the benefit of since we launched. That's one of our few assets that we held on to from the original older strategy, and that one has served us very well. Pendle obviously benefited before from the whole Igon layer run up and everything, and then it cooled down a little bit. It took like a month off, and then all of a sudden in the last 2 weeks, it did go parabolic, and it has provided us massive revenues while also letting the CLP that we manage. We've been managing it very actively, so we can keep opening ourselves up to the appreciation of the Pendle side of the liquidity pool. That's served us well also. But the new rumor, and I was talking to Michael about this a few days ago, the new rumor is that Pendle would be launching on Solana and all the potential earning opportunities that goes along with Solana or with Pendle to pair that with Solana. So that's the rumor. So that's kind of driving the narrative for Pendle over the last 2 weeks. We'll see if that is sustainable. We'll see if maybe there's a pullback. Either way, we monitor and watch it across the board. So because it's paired against ETH ends up being its anchor when it comes to value. But we can manage the CLP in a way that allows us to reap the appreciation of Pendle, not necessarily a 1-to-1 ratio, but we do experience that appreciation, and then we earn revenue off the trading fees the entire time. All right, Michael. I think we kind of covered everything we needed to when it comes to the protocol. Do you bother with farming airdrops? We have gotten a couple of them. Michael, what was the one we had the other day? ETHFi?
Yeah, ETHFi. We had a super small play on ETHFi through Pendle, actually. Mm-hmm. Not much capital put up for that, and I think we got something like 0.64 or 0.65 ETH worth of airdrop that we
like $2,500.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we didn't do too much with the airdrops. We do have some positions, airdrops it's hard, right? Because we want to open ourselves up those opportunities, but we also have to be strategic about not also presenting a vulnerability to our DeFi wallet or anything like that. So it's very
airdrops are great for personal wallets and personal farming. It gets a little more complicated when you're doing it for a protocol or clients. It's you can't explain why you tied up capital for 2 months and then it ends up being a horrible airdrop that doesn't pay anything out, and it's
yeah.
It's not necessarily that it's too risky. It's just it's hard to explain why you tied up capital for no reason if it doesn't pan out.
Well, that's the hard part about airdrops, right? Is it's all speculative. People were speculating this was going to do an airdrop, or this one was going to do an airdrop, or this network was going to do this with this project, and that is, it's a form of gambling, but it's more of simply just it's like the weather. You're forecasting what might do an airdrop, and if you're getting 30% right, you end up doing just fine. But for us, with capital the way we structure our strategy, it doesn't end up being the benefit you hoped it would be. But if you guys want to know more about airdrops, you can always hop into the DeFi Strats and Trading channel. I'm sure Colin or Michael or somebody can come in and answer any questions you guys might have. That's just not a focus for us
I'm
within our strategy.
on the personal side, I'm a huge airdrop junkie. Just not on the protocol fund side.
Yeah. Cool. All right, let's get started. Let's start going through the DeFi Fund report. We got stuff we need to cover. We have client stuff we need to update within the fund report to give some context to the numbers. All good things, but things that need to happen in order for us to move into the next phase, which is BlockCentral. So give me 1 second here. Clicking buttons. All right. Can everybody see my screen? Farming like 10 right now. My God. All right. If anybody wants to know anything about airdrops, you can talk to Colin in the DeFi Strats strategy, strats and trading channel. First thing we did reorganize the server just a little bit. So if you are in the guild or Asgard, those chat channels are directly below the general chat. Now that to make them more accessible, more convenient to kind of jump between if people want to. There's the NFT channel, there's the DeFi strats and trading channel off topic. So we're trying to keep less channels, more concentrated activity, so you guys know where you can go for information. All right, moving on. Michael, you want to go or do you want me to go?
Why don't you go and I'll fill in as needed.
I knew you'd say that.
I know.
Working hard or hardly working?
You don't want me talking. You know how awkward I am.
All right. March 2024 end of month report. Once we put out the playback, Ian's going to add a couple pages for our quarterly Q1 report, but that's just not in this version of the report. So you'll have to wait for that to come out in a couple days. Same thing, contents that we have every time. March summary. This is generally just what we do for the summary report to kind of just go over broad strokes. So price, I don't know if it was that high. That might be from the old report. I'll have to talk to Ian about that. I think the price ended March. I don't know. I'd have to go back. I don't want to look back. We're not going to the past, Michael. We're looking to the future. Anyway.
What is this nonsense?
We had a very good month for the month of March. We generated 7.89% yield. It is a nice, solid growth over the last few months. Some notes of interest over here. Lifetime yield generated, over $250,000 in yield generated. A vast majority of that has been generated in the last 6 months. So March yield generated was $47,869. That's 7.89% against the fund. Q1 yield generated was $122,000 in the first 3 months of the year. Q1 yield plus price appreciation was $184,000. And then Q1 yield return on initial balance was 22%. Q1 DeFi fund value and yield growth was 32% for Q1. So when we go to talk to clients and we show them these numbers and we show them like, hey, the principal assets, they might go up in value and they might go down in value, just like your principal assets in your stock portfolio. But what your stock portfolio isn't doing for you is it's not generating you 5, 6, 7% a month in revenue, while also potentially climbing in value or contracting in value temporarily. So these are the conversations that we're going through and we're having with potential clients and going through our network of wealth managers and stuff and showing them this data. And so that's something to keep in mind as we push through and we start having these conversations. And with this data, these results, the things that we're doing with the fund, they translate directly to the progress that we've made within Panama, within the company, within the organization, and it'll start to bear fruit soon this year. Yield generation, like I said, 47,869. This is the last 6 months since we adopted this new strategy that we've been refining. This is an average. Wait, hold on, Michael. Let me do the math real quick. I bet I can do the math faster than you can do the math.
See how fast I can spreadsheet.
Don't spreadsheet. I'm not doing a spreadsheet. I'm using my phone calculator. .99% average. So over 6 months, we have averaged 6.99%, rounded up to 7% return on the fund each month. Now, if we're managing client funds, we'll probably have a slightly higher risk, lower risk profile for the funds. So naturally, yield will probably be a little lower. But even if we say average 5% a month on client funds, 20% fee on average for client funds, you start to do the math when you're talking 10, 20, $30 million under management. Those numbers start to add up pretty quick. We're happy with this number, especially this month, 7.89. This 7.89 actually is also an indication of what we talked about before with being more dynamic with our allocations. Like, for example, Pendle. Over the last month and a half, we pushed slightly more capital into the Pendle CLP to take advantage of all of that trading revenue. That translates to having higher total revenue for the month. And so being able to flow dynamically between positions, that's the nice thing is all of our positions are liquid, right? All of our positions are able to be adjusted every day if we needed to, both to safeguard capital or to open our capital up to more revenue opportunities. So it's pretty good. Total yield generated, we talked about that already since the inception of the protocol. Most of this in the last 6 months, 256,000. Fund diversification, we always throw this together as a nice graphic to let you know kind of the general positions throughout the protocol. Michael thought that was I'm just reading your comments in the chat. Chris, we have not looked at any stable pools. I would, yeah. Michael kind of said it there.
I also know Overnight Finance has had a couple security issues and some mistakes.
I don't know the project. I just know that. Yeah, I don't know the project, but I just know that stable pools in general. I'd love to be in great stable pools in a bear market, but bull market, I'd rather bank on price appreciation of assets in general over the long term of the cycle. So we generally avoid stable pools unless we have a feeling that the market itself at a macro level is going to.
Were Overnight Finance the ones who accidentally locked up their LP for 100 years?
I have no idea. Yeah, you're asking the wrong person. I'm not quite sure. I know someone did that. I just don't remember who did that. All right, moving on. STS token dynamics. Oh no, it's the last time we'll have time to talk about this. It's actually funny that this says STS token dynamics, but the BlockCentral logo is in the center of the circle.
It's having an identity crisis.
I know. Our report is in transition. We will come
2024 can do that.
Yeah. We're a very accepting bunch. Circulating supply, NFT contract, amount burned. All these numbers are going to change drastically in the next report because we will basically be resetting these numbers for the new token supply, which is 75 million. A good chunk of the remainder of those tokens will be burned once we get the NFT contract up and we get sorted from a supply standpoint. So of the 75 million, I'm guessing two, maybe 2.5 won't be needed. So we'll be able to burn them right away. So keep that in mind. The numbers, DeFi monthly report. So we did have a bit of a contraction value-wise in the DeFi fund this month, naturally because the market contracted. Both Bitcoin and ETH pulled back a bit, and then altcoins generally, when Bitcoin and ETH pull back, altcoins pull back even more. So while we did generate 47,000 in yield for the month, our overall delta change for the DeFi fund was negative 22,000. So it happens. We did move some LP capital into some of the strategies. So there's a different number for the overall organization's pullback. I think the overall organization was down about 10% for the month. But again, it happens. We had what, 4 straight months of 10+% growth on the fund and the treasury. And so you anticipate you're going to have at least a month or two in between those growth months where you're going to have some contraction. So obviously, the big one that we talked about before was Pendle. I don't know if you guys can see this up close. Number 3, Pendle. We had $13,000 in yield from Pendle alone in the month of March. And then we also had a really strong month from Optimism on the Op network. Optimism and Arbitrum are great for CLP positions. So if you have your own personal positions that you want to play with, we highly recommend Arbitrum and Optimism when it comes to just sheer volume. We do have in the middle here, trading allocation is still 100,000 and client miscellaneous is at 100,000. These we're working on pulling these capitals back. Right now, we're dealing with a lot of infrastructure stuff that we can talk about in Panama, and then we're just in the middle of just basically it's spending season. That's the best way I can explain it. That makes sense. The stuff that we're working on in Panama is going to open us up to significant sums of capital, but the old saying of it takes money to make money, and we're in that position right now where we have temporary requirements for this capital, but we do plan on pulling back this money. I'm still waiting to see what happens in the market too. I know Bert brought up, what's going to happen before halving. I'm still uncertain about the direction of the market overall. That's why I've been hesitant to make any major changes to these numbers, because if the market does pull back more significantly, this is a way to hedge and protect the fiat value of capital. So that's just part of the monthly report for us. We did move out of the convex single stake FXS. We still like the asset, but if we're going to hold FXS, the yields on the single stake have been a little underwhelming last 2 months. So we moved this one in particular to a CLP position on mainnet, some similar to the one that we had before. And I think in the first 5 days, it earned more than it did last month total. So we'll just keep monitoring that from a value standpoint. But yeah, a lot of these holdings did have a bit of a contraction in the value over the month. But again, we had like 4 straight months. Patrick, I don't want to say anything about this. That's good. You already got PTSD about it. Okay, stop bringing it up. Allocation amounts, like we talked about before, a lot of this capital is being used to secure our infrastructure in Panama right now, and then trading allocation, we're still looking at what the market's going to do. But other than that, it shows you the diversification. The one thing that I do like to point out is we had a strong month despite, about 30% of what would be in our DeFi fund being used elsewhere. And so in the process of evaluating our positions, we're looking forward to getting back to a point where we can reallocate that money back into our CLPs and stuff. Because it is something that our positions strengthen our argument to our clients. But in order to get those clients, we have to build out this infrastructure. In order to build out the infrastructure, we need to use the capital. But in order to use the capital, we have to take it away from our positions. And our positions are what build us our argument for our clients. So it's this like cycle of like trying to make sure that we're not undermining our own argument for our clients when we're pitching them the service and how we're operating as a business. So it's a fun little game of like circular checkers. And so we're trying our best to make it work, and it seems to be working well. Our numbers remain strong regardless. But this is a good way to kind of point out, like, here's our diversification across our positions. Like I said, operational assets, these ones we usually don't put too much stock into because they'll alternate depending on the start and the end of the month. That's just kind of give you, this is always the metric that we always like focus on. DeFi Fund metrics. So this is kind of what we were pointing out before, like started at 621, ended at 606. So despite earning 40, I think this number's wrong. So it's supposed to be 47. We had a like $16,000 fiat value loss for the month of March. So it happens. It's not every month's going to be green, but our big thing is if we can keep this number high and we continue to grow the assets within the fund, we'll enjoy those green months with the rest of the market more so. You know, the nice thing about the way we operate is our growth sometimes isn't as large as individual assets in the market, but our losses aren't either. And so generally we have a soft landing when it comes to months of contraction, and then our yields will boost our green months more than our soft landings, you know. So it is a net positive for us, even if sometimes there is a contraction in the value. Treasury allocations, this is kind of what I was talking about before. Overall is right around 79,000. So almost spot on 10% contraction for the entire treasury, which includes the DeFi fund. And that's pretty spot on with what the market did, paired with the fact that we did have some expenses that we had to pay for when it came to there was a couple lawyer fees that we had to pay for our KYC and AML service for the clients, and then business operation stuff. But overall, our revenues offset any major dips in the value, but it was about 10% across the whole board between the market and some of the expenses. Yeah, so that's part of the operational LP allocations. Another number if the nerds want to look at it, but it's all part of the same puzzle of information. Protocol metrics, these obviously are going to change drastically next month now that we have the new token. And let's see here. Oh, Michael's answering questions. I was like, why isn't Michael speaking? And then he's in the chat answering questions.
Silently lurking.
I got it. Tag team, back again. All right. Yeah, so protocol metrics, these are good to see, but they are going to be changing, right, with the new token. So LPs remain strong. It's funny, actually, like if you look at these metrics here, the LP to ratio, this is once most of the people, except for the DeFi fund, or the treasury itself, were pulling out like all their liquidity. So this is a very poor metric when it comes to the actual like.
It's a little skewed.
It's a little skewed. It's a little lacking of context, but it's fine. The APYs, I'm very keen to see what these numbers look like at the end of this month, because I have a very strong feeling that the farm and even the staking APY, both of them are going to be higher, and people are going to be very excited about that. Token supply and burns. We burned 1.7 million tokens in the month of March, based on the total supply. That is, what is that, Michael?
2.19%.
2.19%, because the number's right there, number 7. I didn't see it. We burned 2% of our total supply in the month of March. Obviously, you know me, I always like to try and push that number as high as possible, because our whole gambit is what? Reduce supply, increase value. And reduce supply, increase value of the fund, and through that, the value of the token will increase. So that's the whole gambit for us. And then lastly, market OTC token buys and burns. Overall, about $35,000 in token purchases, which is 3.2 million. So of that 3.2 million, 1.5 million was distributed for rewards, where 1.7 was burned. So those are the numbers for the month. That's pretty much it. That's the whole gig. What do you guys think of the logo and stuff? If you love it, you have to go thank Ian for it. Ian did a great job. Everything we do visually, that's Ian. That's our boy. Like, he not only does everything he do, it looks amazing, he does it quickly. Like, there's times where I'll ask Ian for something, and then like 20 minutes later, he's like, "What do you think about this?" And I'm like, "What? Did you make that?" He goes, "Yeah, I just made it." I go, ugh. There's times where I'm just like, I can't even like use like Photoshop or try to make something on Apple Docs, and then Ian comes with some bullshit that looks like he spent 30 hours designing, but it took him 15 minutes. Any questions about? Oh, hold on. Triz asked how much percentage of the revenue is used. It's hard to determine a specific percentage because it's not always just from revenue, right? So, let's say, for example, we generate 45,000 in a month and we spent 35,000 on buybacks and burns. You would think 10,000 revenue went to the fund, right? But at the same time, the fund appreciated $50,000. So the percentage is one thing off of revenue alone, but revenue and appreciation, it becomes a different percentage. So it can be hard from time to time to give a specific number. I can tell you, and Michael can attest to this, we use a lot of the yield to buy back and burns tokens. Mainly because like when we buy tokens, and we're doing this now even more with the new mechanics. When we buy tokens, we push them into the tax receiver. The tax receiver now will burn 50% of the tokens. So my hope is that we don't ever need to do a manual burn again. We just keep pushing tokens in the tax receiver. Like, oh, we got $500 to spend today. All right, buy back tokens off the market, push it in the tax receiver, watch them burn, watch them get rewards. And so if we have to do that multiple times a day because we have extra revenue, we're going to do that. So that's kind of the process there. Anyone want any alpha about the client services?
I want alpha about the client services.
Obviously, TradFi takes a lot longer than crypto, right? So crypto's on 24/7, which means we're on 24/7. And in this space, because you're on 24/7, things move quickly, far quicker than TradFi. Because of that, it might feel like things are moving slowly for us, which in relation to how we live our lives, it's true. It is a little bit slower. But we are making significant progress. So right now, I'm trying to figure out how much information I can divulge publicly. Right now, we are in the process of shifting the organization in a way that we are more than just an incorporated company in Panama. And through that, we will open ourselves up to far more than just wealthy individuals and client managers, wealth managers of wealthy individuals. Because that was kind of our primary focus for client services. You know, you have a client, and our clients in our mind were people who are traditional investors by nature, but are crypto curious, and they want to participate in crypto for the first time in a safe way, in a way that they would understand, or at least have their hand held, and go through that process. What we're doing now, and it's going to take a few weeks, couple months to get it accomplished, is going to open us up to actual institutions, like, for example, banks. And as you know, banks use that money. They have their own investment funds, and they allocate their investments in multiples of millions, not multiples of thousands. And so we are in the process of aligning ourselves with a collective of institutions in Panama that will open doors for us to far more capital than we anticipated. So that's the alpha. You can read between the lines a little bit on that, but we were discussing, Barry and I were discussing, like, how do we branch outside of Panama? And we have some ideas about, like, if clients wanted to partake in the client services. And then we had a call this week, about the potential of this agreement. And jokingly, it was like, well, we might not need to even look outside of the country that we're based in. So suffice it to say, we are to the point now where we believe wholeheartedly, Barry and I believe, and the people we're working with believe, that our client services and the ability for us to attract millions in capital to be under management, we believe it to be an inevitability. Now it's just a matter of when. And so it might take some time. And so, but we don't think there is anything that will hold us back from achieving this, especially with the numbers that we keep generating with the DeFi Fund. So take that how you will. But we do believe that what we're doing client side, what we're doing with our network and the relationships that we've been building over the last year, we've been working these relationships for a year now, that we are in a position where our client side is an inevitability. And so we just need to make sure that these next couple months go well for us. We get in the rooms with the right people, which we are right now, and we will continue to do so. And then the big question is what happens then? Say we get 20 million under management. We're pulling in 200,000 a month in client fees. I can promise you now, as co-founder with Barry, 75-80% of that capital goes back to the protocol, which means the DeFi Fund and the core community here. So if our fund right now is $600,000-$700,000, what does that look like if every month six figures is being injected into the fund, into the token, into the value of the protocol that we have here? So it's just, again, TradFi works slow. And we are progressing through this process, but we're doing it in the most official way possible. And when we do get to the point where rubber meets the road and capital starts flowing in, those fees on a monthly basis come back to the organization. So we are going to do our best to make sure that we take care of everybody who's involved. everybody's been incredibly patient. Everybody was so patient with the migration, and we thank you for that. You guys have been patient throughout this whole process. I know a lot of times in crypto, people are looking for moon bags and things that are going to go 100x in a week. That's never been us. It'll probably never be us, but we do hope and we do plan that once we get a certain momentum and growth in our clientele and in our portfolio, there will be an exponentiality to the value curve of the token and the fund that backs the token. And it should treat us well, especially since we have at least 16 months of generally bullish sentiment in the market. But even then, we feel like once we get to the tail end of the bull cycle, we will have a portfolio and strategy in place that allows us to weather bear cycle price action. So that's the update. That is the full DeFi Fund report for the month of March. The last stasis report you will see moving forward. We are BlockCentral. We have Block, BLOC, as our utility token. And we are full steam ahead on the future of this organization. And we appreciate every single one of you for being here. Michael, do you have anything to add before we wrap this up?
Only that I think I may change my name on the server to King of the Short House.
King of the Short Bus?
No, Short House.
The Short House. Oh, yeah, that's right, because we're in the Long House.
Got to keep it thematic.
You know what you could do is you could make your own VC channel called The Short House, and anyone under 5'7" can join you there.
Or anybody who wants to go degen some 100x meme coins on Solana.
Hey, you know what? I have like $50 in Pith that I can throw around. So if you want to go meme coin it up, how quickly can we turn $50 into 10,000 or 0?
That would be a fun challenge.
It would be. We should try it. Actually, we should try it and then use that $10,000 to buy Block in like one transaction.
I kind of love this. But see, the problem is you have to actually get your transaction to work on Solana. In the last few days, transactions just don't complete. So
yeah, they got a bit congested. I think what people forgot before
it's
all
a horrible
of this
network.
I think people forgot after all this like meme season and hype and stuff, it's still Solana, and Solana still has these fatal flaws in it from a tech standpoint.
One day.
Well, yeah, maybe that's not a bad challenge, right? Like $100 to 10,000 or 100 to 5,000, and then just market buy and burn tokens,
Or zero.
or 0.
Or
100 to a 0, and we all just get to appreciate the fact that we tried really hard.
It's $100 worth of entertainment.
Yikes. Look, Colin just said 75% of all Solana transactions have failed in the past 2 days. My God.
Great network.
I'm part of that statistic.
Oh, no, I know. I literally was trying to send some USDC on Solana yesterday, and it took me 30 minutes of retrying the transaction over and over again to get it to go through.
Oh, Lord. All right, who wants some Block? For the first time, we are going to be doing giveaways in Block. BLOC. I almost spelled block wrong. Oh my God, it's been a long day.
Oh boy.
Somebody said my voice sounds like my brother Henry. I don't have a brother named Henry, but if I did, he would sound like this. I have a stuffy nose. And I had my teeth cleaned this morning, so I think everything's weird at the moment.
Man, you were just having a day.
I am having a day. Well, after this call, I have some conversation I need to have with the developers. And then we need to prep for some big old morbidly obese rewards to go out tomorrow.
Nice.
Yes. All right. Let's give away. I'm feeling generous. Let's give away $20 of Block to 3 people. Who are those 3 people going to be? Michael, are you going to choose or are you going to make me choose?
I have the ... but I can go by profile picture.
Yeah, but every time you do that, you end up picking up like a bot that's only here for giveaways. In fact, the last 2 times you picked like somebody who is just a random attendee. I mean, it's not a bad way to go. I mean, it works out for them.
You
How about you
know,
pick one you recognize that you know is not a team member?
I'm gonna pick this person because they asked some good questions. Let's go with Triz.
Triz. All right. See, I didn't pick Triz. I'm not being biased here. That was all Michael. All right. Triz, $20 in block. I'm gonna pick the other two. We're gonna go with actually, yeah, we're gonna go with hold on. Let me scroll back real quick. There was a question I was asked I want to reward, but I could be misremembering. No, I think I'm misremembering. Anyway, back to the point at hand. We're gonna give $20 in block to Mikey, and what about
Craig.
Craig?
I'm just
Well, we
saying,
know
Craig has been here for every AMA,
we
every
do
update.
know that Craig will not sell these tokens, so that's not a bad choice for
No
a
one
giveaway.
diamond hands like Craig does.
No one diamond hands like Craig. And then we're gonna do AA Ron. All right, AA Ron, Mikey, and Triz. $20 in block. I'll tag you in the chat, and then I'll have you open up a ticket. Drop me your Polygon address. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for attending. Thank you for listening to my very long-winded answers about all things DeFi Fund and BlockCentral. We are very excited about the future of this organization, especially over the next 6 months. Don't get jealous of your friends who are making a lot of money on meme coins, because I can tell you right now, crypto degens celebrate their wins and hide their losses. So whatever money your friends say they're making, there's a good chance most of those friends are also losing, but they're just not showing you those. So be like our buddy Colin. Colin will own every one of his losses. You want somebody who is honest to a fault about the things that he does well and the losses that he takes. Colin is somebody that you should emulate, because I have more respect for him for the times that he tells me, or I see him telling somebody else, oh man, I totally missed that. I sold too early, or I held too long. That's the type of people you want to surround yourself with in this space, because otherwise people just pretend that they're crushing it, but then they never tell you how much they lost on the other stuff. So, but thank you guys for being here. That's my final PSA for the call. We're going to wrap this up. We'll have playback posted hopefully in the next couple days with the fund report. And then we are moving forward, block all the way. All right, everyone, ladies, gentlemen, he's, she's, and theys, we love you all. Have a good weekend. Happy Friday, and we'll talk to you soon.